The airline business has never been for the faint-hearted. It's an industry where fortunes can shift as fast as the weather, where a spike in fuel prices, a sudden change in demand, or one wrong strategic bet can send even the biggest carriers into turbulence. And yet, in the middle of all this uncertainty, one airline has managed to pull off a turnaround that has caught the attention of the entire aviation world. Etihad Airways, the national carrier of Abu Dhabi, stunned everyone when it revealed a record profit of $476 million for 2024. For a company that had been drowning in losses not so long ago, this wasn't just a good year. It was a statement that the airline had finally cracked the code to sustainable success. To really understand why this number matters, it helps to look at where Etihad was just a year earlier. In 2023, the airline only managed a profit of $143 million. Respectable, sure, but hardly earth-shaking. Revenues that year came in at $5.5 billion. Fast forward 12 months, and revenues had climbed to nearly $6.9 billion. Passenger numbers jumped by an incredible 32%, with 18.5 million people choosing Etihad to get them where they needed to go. Cargo brought in $1.1 billion, a 24% increase that added even more strength to the bottom line. Those aren't just statistics, they're proof of a turnaround that even the most optimistic observers might have struggled to predict. Now, of course, no conversation about Gulf aviation can ignore Emirates, the giant neighbor in Dubai. Emirates posted profits of $4.7 billion in 2023, dwarfing Etihad's $476 million. But this isn't really about a head-to-head comparison. Etihad's story matters because of where it started. Since 2016, the airline had been bleeding money, losing over $6 billion as it pursued a risky strategy of buying stakes in other carriers across Europe and Asia. That approach backfired badly. By the time the pandemic hit, Etihad was already cutting costs and scaling back its ambitions just to survive. Seen in that light, 2024's record result feels like a complete reversal of fortune. What makes the turnaround even more fascinating is the speed at which the narrative changed. Just a few years ago, Etihad was frequently mentioned as an example of what happens when ambition outpaces reality. The airline was shedding unprofitable routes, grounding aircraft, and pulling back from its global investments. Industry watchers openly questioned whether it could ever stand on equal footing with its larger rivals. Yet within a remarkably short window, the conversation flipped. The very same airline once accused of overstretching itself is now being praised for discipline and clarity of purpose. The decisions to refocus on core markets, improve efficiency, and strengthen customer experience have become textbook examples of how to engineer a corporate comeback. There's a sense that Etihad's leadership didn't just stop the bleeding, they reimagined what the airline could be. That kind of transformation doesn't happen by accident. It comes from painful lessons, bold choices, and the determination to rewrite the story rather than let it fade away. So what changed? The short answer is strategy. For years, Etihad had tried to battle Emirates and Qatar Airways on ultra-long-haul routes, flying across continents and stretching itself thin. But this wasn't sustainable. Under CEO Antonualdo Neves, Etihad made a bold pivot. Instead of fighting its rivals on their strongest turf, the airline redrew its map and focused on what Neves calls the 4-hour sphere of influence around Abu Dhabi. Within that circle live nearly 2 billion people. That's a staggering pool of potential passengers. By shifting the focus to this region, Etihad could concentrate on frequency, reliability, and customer service, rather than burning money on prestige flights. The idea was simple: make Etihad the first choice for travelers across the Middle East and India. And it worked. On India to Europe routes, for instance, Etihad now holds the #1 market share wherever it operates. That's a dramatic turnaround from just a few years ago. The airline's new strategy didn't just change where it flew, it changed how it grew. By the end of 2024, Etihad was serving 80 destinations with a fleet of 97 aircraft. 6 brand-new Airbus A321neos joined the fleet that year, and the A380 made a comeback, with a 5th Super Jumbo reintroduced for long-haul demand. The current fleet stands at 104 aircraft, and the order book is bursting with 98 more on the way. That includes 20 Airbus A321LRs, 15 A350-1000s, 8 Boeing 777-8s, 17 777-9s, 27 87-10s, and 8 additional 787-9s. It's a lineup that ensures Etihad isn't just expanding. It's preparing to operate some of the most efficient and advanced aircraft in the skies. This fleet story reveals far more than just numbers on a page. Each delivery represents a calculated step in aligning Etihad with a future where efficiency and flexibility will decide the winners of aviation. The choice of aircraft models shows how carefully the airline has balanced capacity with range, making sure it can serve both regional hotspots and long-haul corridors with the right tool for the job. The return of the A380 signals confidence that premium demand is here to stay, while the addition of new generation aircraft, like the A350s and 787s, underscores the emphasis on fuel efficiency and passenger comfort. Modern cabins, quieter engines, and lower operating costs all play a role in strengthening the brand. For passengers, this translates into smoother journeys, fresher interiors, and more destinations connected seamlessly. For the airline, it builds resilience, allowing it to weather fuel fluctuations and competitive pricing pressures. In many ways, the fleet is a mirror of the new Etihad itself. Leaner, smarter, and designed to compete on quality rather than sheer scale. It's a reminder that in aviation, hardware and strategy go hand in hand, and Etihad has finally found the mix that works. And expansion is very much on the agenda. 2025 is shaping up to be a landmark year with a wave of new routes. Sochi in Russia has already been added, and cities like Atlanta, Hanoi, Hong Kong, Taipei, Prague, and Warsaw are joining the map. In North Africa, flights will begin to Algiers, Tunis, and Al Alamein. Southeast Asia gets a boost with Chiang Mai, Krabi, Medan, and Phnom Penh. Nairobi is also being added to the African network. It's an impressive list, but here's the clever part. 2/3 of Etihad's new capacity isn't about chasing new dots on the map. It's about adding more flights to destinations it already serves. More frequency means more convenience, and more convenience means happier passengers. Of course, rapid growth can be dangerous if it isn't managed carefully. Etihad knows this all too well. Over the last 2.5 years, the airline grew at a breakneck pace of 35% annually. That level of expansion is tough for any company to sustain. The plan now is to slow things down slightly, targeting around 20% growth and eventually 15% a year over the next 5 years. That's still ambitious by global standards, but it's far more sustainable. Adding 20 new aircraft every year, about one every other week, puts Etihad in rare company. Very few airlines anywhere in the world are managing a pace like that. What makes this growth story even more compelling is how carefully it's being calibrated. Expansion for the sake of numbers has been tried before, and Etihad knows exactly how risky that path can be. This time, the pace is matched with planning. New routes are chosen with precision. Frequencies are adjusted to meet demand, and every aircraft added is tied to a clear commercial need. Growth at 15 to 20% a year may sound modest compared to earlier figures, but in aviation terms, it's still a remarkable rate that pushes the airline into an elite league of movers. It also reflects maturity. Instead of chasing headlines with flashy route announcements, Etihad is building a framework for consistency, where each new destination strengthens the network rather than stretching it thin. The idea is to create depth, not just breadth, and to make sure customers can rely on schedules that actually work. This kind of steady expansion suggests that the airline has found the balance between ambition and caution, a balance that many rivals struggle to achieve when scaling up quickly. Costs are always the make-or-break factor in aviation, and Etihad has been laser-focused on efficiency. In 2023, The airline cut its unit cost excluding fuel by 8%. It repeated the same achievement in 2024. This year, the goal is a further reduction of 1 to 2%. While there's only so much fat that can be trimmed, the results so far have been impressive. Combine that with falling oil prices, and the financial equation suddenly looks far more favorable. When an airline can both cut costs and benefit from cheaper fuel, profits are bound to follow. But even with everything going right internally, there are risks that Etihad has no control over. One big concern is the possibility of a slowdown in transatlantic travel, especially between Europe and the US. If demand there falls, airlines could move their planes into the Middle East and India, flooding the market with extra capacity. More planes chasing the same number of passengers means lower fares and thinner margins. Etihad itself has only a small exposure to the US. Its cargo operations to that market account for about 3% of the total. But it knows the knock-on effects could ripple across its core markets. Already, competition into the US has made fares cheaper, which is good news for travelers, but a constant reminder of how fragile the balance can be. This vulnerability highlights one of the biggest challenges of aviation. No airline operates in a vacuum. Decisions made in Europe or America can quickly reshape the competitive landscape in the Middle East. A single dip in passenger demand on the North Atlantic corridor might seem like someone else's problem. But when aircraft are so mobile, the ripple effect spreads fast. Suddenly, capacity that was once profitable in another market is being redeployed into Etihad's neighborhood, intensifying competition overnight. It's a game of constant adjustment, where flexibility is just as important as long-term vision. That's why Etihad's focus on efficiency and regional dominance matters so much. It provides a cushion against shocks that it cannot control. The airline may not be able to stop extra planes from arriving in the region, but by having a lean cost structure and loyal customer base, it can weather price wars better than before. In the past, oversupply might have triggered deeper losses, but today's Etihad is in a far stronger position to hold its ground. Even when the winds of global demand shift unexpectedly, none of this would work without people. Etihad's turnaround is as much about its staff as it is about strategy and aircraft. Every new plane requires around 70 staff members. With 20 new planes being added each year, that's about 2,000 new hires annually. Cabin crew, pilots, engineers, technicians. The airline is constantly bringing in new talent. Abu Dhabi's appeal makes it easier to attract skilled professionals, but there's also a clear push to develop local Emirati talent. Career fairs, training initiatives, and dedicated recruitment events have been ramped up to ensure that national talent is at the heart of Etihad's future. Every Monday morning, new hires attend an induction session at headquarters, often led personally by the CEO. It's a simple gesture, but it sets the tone, showing employees that they're part of something bigger. The mix of global expertise and national pride has become one of Etihad's unique strengths. Employee rewards have also reflected the airline's changing fortunes. With profitability back on track, staff have enjoyed record bonuses tied directly to performance. The airline's net margin in 2024 was 7%, up from 0 in 2022. Emirates, with its 15% margin, still sets the benchmark. But at Etihad, the message to employees is clear. Improve margins and bonuses will follow. That alignment of incentives keeps everyone focused on pushing the airline forward together. And then there's the question of an IPO. On paper, Etihad is ready to go public. The balance sheet is stronger, leverage has been cut from 1.8 times to 1.1, and the airline is even paying dividends. But the leadership is not rushing. Going public isn't the goal. It's simply a tool for raising capital if needed. Right now, with healthy cash flow and profits, there's no urgency. The decision will ultimately rest with Abu Dhabi's rulers, who may see an IPO as a way to strengthen local capital markets, or to showcase Etihad as a crown jewel of the economy. For now, though, the airline is focused on growth and stability rather than stock tickers. What stands out in all of this is how Etihad has redefined itself. Customer satisfaction is rising across all cabin classes. Safety and reliability remain uncompromising priorities. Expansion is balanced with caution, and profitability is finally consistent. For a carrier that once symbolized overreach and costly missteps, the new Etihad is disciplined, efficient, and customer-focused. The CEO speaks confidently about maintaining financial strength while delivering extraordinary experiences, about fulfilling the mandate of shareholders, and about contributing to the long-term success of the United Arab Emirates. From its ambitious launch in 2003 to its painful years of losses, through the turbulence of the pandemic, and now into an era of record profitability, Etihad's journey has been dramatic. $476 million in profit may not match Emirates' billions, but it's proof of resilience. It's proof that lessons have been learned. And it's proof that the airline is not just back in the game, it's reshaping it. The rivalry between Emirates, Etihad, and Qatar Airways is entering a new chapter. And this time, Etihad is no longer the underdog. It's a serious contender with a clear vision for the future. For anyone watching this story unfold, it's hard not to be impressed. Against all odds, Etihad Airways has turned years of struggle into a record-breaking success, and in doing so, has set the stage for what could be one of the most fascinating rivalries in modern aviation. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Etihad's remarkable turnaround, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss future deep dives into the biggest stories shaping business and aviation.